Hello everyone and welcome back to Adjacent with Jace, the tabletop interview review show for The Adventures of Nethoria, brought to you by the Black Tower Stories. I am of course your host, Jace. And with me today, he's coming through the door and starts blasting, dealing info galore, but no one's asking. The party's confused once more about the task, and he's starting a goblins at the floor like Carol Baskins. All his skills that are bore are never lacking, rocking the players to the core. Here's a Saxon. Hello, Eric. I was a little stumbled over my words a little bit on that one. I might have to.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe you should practice a little bit more.
I would practice because I do, and it never comes out smoothly. I'll have to re-record it for my.
Yeah, you gotta bring your A game. Your A game.
Nah, I'm a solid C student. C is a pass, sir. I don't need to bring my A game. But thank you, Eric, for coming in for Adjacent with Jace. We will talk to you today about Chapter 19, Dangers on the Mountain. And a lot more, because since you've been on last, quite a bit has happened. One of the players decided to just yeet themselves off a cliff, Hawaiian Falls style.
Yeah.
Decided to lazy river themselves into another campaign setting, apparently. But if you have any questions for the Dungeon Master of the Black Tower Stories, please ask them away. I would say our moderators are going to curate them and put them in the Discord for me, but I don't know. But I will grab as many of them as I possibly can. Oh, good thing Brit Mix Studios mixed the intro. It was not very good. I might do it again at the end. Every time I do it badly, I'm gonna do it again at the outro. That way everyone could have a chance to hear it properly. It was pretty bad.
Yes, but what I would like is if Britnix ever decides that she wants to go back and watch, I would enjoy fan art of you trying to do these intros.
Fan art of me sitting here. Yeah, that's great. I want
Yes. Oh, but you know what we should do?
the 8 Mile style with me like in a hoodie.
If we
doing
ever
this.
get to the point to where we have like a merch store, we should have all of those intros just on a shirt that people can buy.
There's 20 of them, right?
Yes,
I've done
it'll
20
be
intros.
Yes, and they'll be like limited edition shirts.
It'll be a law. It's nothing but text.
Collect them all
the way through.
Like my Dungeon Master shirt. That's just a whole bunch of text at the bottom. It says, "I am your Dungeon Master."
That's stupid. But
yeah,
thank you, Eric, for coming in, and thank you, chat, for coming in. Spars says they were here for the intro. I'm so glad you saw me do horrible.
Yeah, I told you he usually does pretty good.
But thank you. We have some questions that I have already set aside. I got some stats to throw at the people. And we have some questions that came in earlier as one of the players is not entirely thrilled with some of your antics, and I will get to those right away. First question for the Dungeon Master Eric. When are you going to stop casting your weird DM Cajun Juju on Arthur right before he rolls? Follow-up question. When are you going to give him a better staff?
Well, first off, I can't answer the second one because spoilers. As for the first one, just like I said, it's just fun. When the joke is dead, then you know me. When the joke is dead, I'll keep it going just a little bit. And then when people chastise me for killing the joke and not letting it die, that's when it dies.
So to beat the dead horse, cast Revivify on the dead horse. Beat it some more because it's only at 1 hit point. And then raise dead on the dead horse.
Yeah. So basically, I'm going to milk this. And besides, my Cajun Voodoo rarely works. So when it does work, I got to be like, got to keep that shit going.
It rarely works.
Use it or lose it.
You're barely Cajun. That's why it rarely works.
Well, yes. That's great.
We have another. Okay, there's some back and forth questions from you and Arthur in here. When will you stop? Mm-hmm. When will it stop being fun for me? Which you kind of answered yourself. Question for Eric. Besides the obvious recent derailment, has the story gone as you've planned? Which is a good question. Thank you, Moderator Tater, for putting that in Discord for me.
So, no. I mean, we discussed this a while back with Houselet and all of that. And it's like, oh, you guys like did everything, just not in the order I expected. And now, like I said, and I had to tell you guys didn't want very railroady kind of overarching world-changing plot lines and stuff going on. So, I have some big things that I know is going on that are like backdrop pieces that you guys may come in and out of as you wish. But as for stuff, I'm not saying at level 7 the party is going to do this quest, which is going to lead to this quest. So plans, so I have plans lowercase p, not uppercase. So you guys could change everything.
It's a pretty solid derailment. It's the typical plot line of it going, oh, this is going great. Oh, damn. Lost one.
Yeah. Which is weird, because normally in our campaigns, when something like that happens, that's when a player is exiting the campaign.
Well, he's kind of not on the stream, so that counts.
That's true. Technically, no one knows whether or not Bevo will ever grace the party again.
He might not, which I will reveal now. We have been planning behind the scenes and kind of out in the open. There is the Gorbeck's Lost Days in the making currently, where we have some special guests on there to help Gorbeck on his way, because we all know that he would just die if he was by himself.
Yep.
There's no one to tell him it's a bad idea, except for himself. I mean, he tells himself it's a great idea. So there are special episodes going to be coming out, though. We did our first recording of it last night.
Yep.
So I haven't even looked through that footage yet because I'm not in it, but I'm not even producing it. But I got to edit through it. I'm sure it's a real clusterfuck. I could already probably tell.
It was pretty entertaining.
Yes.
A little bit there. There's a lot more character interaction, but let's just say like the people who are in there get to interact. They have some synergy with Gorbeck in different ways. That it's funny because in certain ways there's parts there where Gorbeck is like, "Why am I the sane one?"
Oh, that's not good. Oh man, I haven't seen these. This is
so yeah. But when you go back and edit that, that's fine. So yeah, we just we laid down episode 1, and then we got another one that'll come up soon.
We'll see how
Not
long
sure
it takes for Gorbeck to either escape or die. Who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, as it stands, I don't think we know when we're going to be broadcasting those yet, but soon.
So any day where we post in our announcements like, hey, not do it. Too many people are sick. We can't stream, and then we'll just probably pop one of those up there, like surprise, but special.
Either that, or like when we get a little far ahead, because obviously people are going to be interested. The main point is like we have to role play something, so that way if the party meets back up with Gorbeck actually has a story to tell.
Mm-hmm. All right, on to another question. This is, of course, we're poking fun at you again. How do you feel about your NPCs having almost as many downs as you do? Mizak was the first one to do this, and now you had the Paladin. But now Ziggle has come into the foray of an effective fighter, from a distance at least.
He had a good shot.
He hit twice.
Yeah, I mean, like, Art can have like one good combat where he's landing some blows. That does not change the story. Okay?
He killed one of them.
It is a momentary respite from mediocrity. That's true.
He did kill one.
He managed to land a killing blow on a monster that you guys had done the heavy lifting on.
All right. With that being said, because someone brought up the Ziggle being somewhat effective into combat, on to my first stat question. Mm-hmm. So I scroll down here. Mm-hmm. Question for you, Eric, because you're playing both of these NPCs. Which between Mizak and Ziggle have dealt the most damage now? Bonus question. Who has killed the most?
I actually think the answer is the same, and I gotta go Mizak both ways. Like, Mizak is vicious, and I think he racked up some kills during that bandit fight up on the top of House Lep.
All right, now to clarify this, I will add a little thing in here. Plus or minus 25 for the damage that Mizak or Ziggle has done.
I think Mizak has done more than 25, and Ziggle has done just less.
Okay. Well, the answer is yes, Mizak has killed more. The bandit fight, he racked up 2 kills, and Ziggle has just recently tasted the sweet victory of killing something. Did not go mad with the idea of killing all humans, because he was killing goblins. So
that's true.
Probably not as violent as Mizak.
To be fair, that's not really the small ear ethos either.
Run away. But it was a trick question because they have both dealt 27 points of damage. They are tied for damage.
So that means Ziggle has done really well in his time with the party.
Mm-hmm. Probably might have done more damage average. I wasn't keeping track of how many attacks they were doing or hits, but I think Mizak was just more effective. But Ziggle has only hit like 4 times.
Yeah, I would think that, because I know that's what I was thinking. It's like Mizak hit a lot. Yeah, he was very, very effective. Effective in combat. But yeah, Ziggle has missed. Like, he's wafted 95% of his shots.
He's not even in combat. I'll bring this on to one of my questions that I prepared for this one. Let's see. Where is it? Here we go. Do you have plans on attacking some of the other characters that aren't engaging in combat, such as the turret triplets that I have named them? the turret triples being Volred, Gander, and Caleb.
Well, Caleb already gets himself into enough trouble, so I don't have to worry about it there. Yes, of course. I mean, you know how I get vindictive, and I like to, on occasion, make sure that everyone gets fun. Think about last campaign with those invisible stalkers. One of the only times Nock was ever actually in combat because he couldn't be 300 feet away. And he got a taste of it and was like, yeah, this sucks. And so slowly but surely, it'll happen where they'll get backlined or something will happen and it will go very poorly.
All right, just making sure it's there and everyone knows that the moment Ziggle is left in an area where he can be attacked, at the time he dies. Likes to draw all that attention to himself. He was in the comments. He doesn't get like 35% of shots. Who knows?
Oh no, like Arthur hits more often than Ziggle does, like by many times.
Oh
like,
yeah, it's what he's saying is that Ziggle's not even the turn counting half the time because just forget about him. His circle's
yeah,
you bet your ass if an AOE hits that Eric won't forget that he's in that circle though.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, because part of that problem is because I'm using the new D&D Beyond combat tracker, but that means that any characters that are part of the combat has to be added to the party list. And so since Ziggle isn't an NPC that has a character sheet that has been added to the party, he does not get included whenever I click run encounter. So, and my thought is like, well, Ziggle's just a regular goblin. He doesn't have class levels or anything. So
he barely has a bow.
Yeah, so I'm like, I gotta, I guess, figure out a way to have him included and make that easier.
Nah, he's just gonna die. The second you remember, that's when he's gonna die in combat. We have some more questions coming in. Question for Eric: how do you feel about your NPC having? Oh, that's already said that one. This one here, DM. Did you expect Mizak and Ziggle being as popular as they are with the party as the viewers do?
No. As a reminder for those of you who have seen the earlier episodes, I was not expecting Mizak to be a significant NPC in any real instance. I fully expected, because my parties have a murder hobo streak in them occasionally. I fully expected them to kill Mizak and that then collect the bounty and that be it. But I guess I underestimated Gorbeck's ferocity with wanting to make friends of every marginalized, by any degree, character they meet. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is definitely interesting. So no, like Mizak, never expected him to be in as big a part of the campaign as he's been. Ziggle, no, I mean, you never know. I honestly figured people would be like, oh, Ziggle, yeah, he's obviously another small creature just to fill the Mizak hole. And it's like, well, no. It's just, I tried to do NPC and, roleplay encounters and stuff. And part of it is just trying to, give you guys some alternative insider information should you guys go the extra step, and or creating some interesting opportunities for role playing. And in that way, Ziggle has performed admirably.
All right, we have another question from the chat. This one: how would you react if a player came to you at level 7 through 10 with an initiative of 11 to 13, with it being legit? That's going to need to be toned down or something else? I could speak personally from experience that having a high initiative modifier, I play a swashbuckler rogue, meant nothing if you roll a 2 or 3, as I tend to go almost last in initiative in certain games. I also DM for a wizard bard who's got a plus, I think a plus 11, and they're at level 11, and he can get like a 30 on initiative and go first, but he's a bard, and that just might mean he has a chance to get away from combat or do something else.
Yeah, and last campaign we actually had that problem where you had a decent initiative, but we're down at the bottom, and then we had Aaron, the character who plays Gander this campaign. Last campaign, he played a Tabaxi fighter / rogue with an insane initiative, and he was consistently up near the top. And basically, that just happens where it's like you learn to plan that out a little bit. It's like, well, I know that he's going to be at the top of the initiative, so if I can adjust combat to say, okay, well, maybe he gets maybe I can include like a big monster that I know is really dangerous, and then in that way I can kind of subtly manipulate those players into attacking the monster that I want them to attack, so that my other monsters stay alive and have fun. Or if they choose to focus on those side monsters, then cool, that just means that I've got a really big monster to have a lot of fun with the other players. So you just kind of learn to adapt and change. And so no, it actually wouldn't bother me if a player ended up with a really high initiative. It just means that I have to think of my combats a little bit differently.
So I would say don't try to nerf the character's ability to go first, because when they roll poorly, if they roll poorly, they're only going middle of the pack within that 10 and 11, 12 range. If they roll really good, a 30 will beat an 18, the same it'll beat a 21, so they'll just go first. Kind of in, like Eric said, playing your encounters a little bit. If they have the same tactics where they cast a certain spell first or they do something else, maybe the encounter's in a situation where that tactic is not the best idea. I would also add in, if they're constantly going first and they have certain tactics they like to use, make sure that they know what they're doing first. So if they're going into a new situation where those tactics won't work, don't give them 15 minutes to figure out what they want to do. They need to they get the same amount of time as everybody else. Unless you're the DM,
also,
then you get a monologue if you go first initiative. That's a rule.
Another thing that's also useful is like surprise round is a thing. So if the player, if you want to make sure that the monsters get some work in, if the players get ambushed, it doesn't matter how high you roll in the initiative roll. If the character is surprised, then, I mean, they essentially have a whole round where they can be beat up before they get a move, So there's ways around it, but you just have to kind of one of the easy ways to think about that is to think about combat not just in terms of the monsters in play, but the environment in which it takes place. This is actually something I had to have a conversation with one of my players recently because they were trying to read in to the environment a little bit, and I was like, nah, man, sometimes it's just like these monsters are fun to play with, but I put the players in a different environment that can either block line of sight or provide interesting movement or flanking opportunities that can really change the feeling of how that combat goes. And so if you've got a high initiative character, but you're still able to construct the environment or the monsters in such a way as to everyone can get kind of pulled in, then the initiative is helpful, but it's just really helpful.
I was waiting for that. They commented on there.
Yeah,
the alert feat. I figured the alert wasn't part of it, but there's the problem with the surprise is a condition, not a round, where that person might be able to go with the alert feat, but the rest of the party isn't. So if the rest of the party is tired of him going all the time, there's still a higher initiative. They could be asleep. They can't be surprised, but they could still be caught unconscious or prone or without their weapons or without their armor, as Eric has done multiple times in campaigns. The alert feat is kind of a pain where it's one of those issues we have with certain feats where it eliminates an entire aspect of a combat, with like the sharpshooter feat does for cover. So I but also, if someone specializes their character in a very certain way, taking that away from them constantly is kind of is like you're not, if you're playing as a DM, it's like you don't want to take the fun away from them. It's like, okay, let them have their time, but
Yeah.
devise an encounter, like Eric is saying, that makes it so that's not always an option.
Yeah, and that
invisible
is good.
things don't care if you're not surprised.
That's also true. Another thing to think about there, when even just thinking about surprise round and stuff and those feats, I tell all of my players that they're not allowed to just pick a feat because they want to. They have to explain to me how that feat makes sense for their character and how they can get it. So you can't just be walking through a dungeon, get a level up, and all of a sudden pick up a really nice skill that you've never had before. There's some backstory and stuff that's got to go into that. And normally, if I saw someone who's taking like feats and stuff to basically completely remove that aspect of combat, that usually triggers a conversation for me and be like, hey man, just kind of curious here what you're picking here. Are you doing this basically for gameplay purposes so that way you might be able to eliminate this problem? Or, because if they're really just doing it to manipulate the game and get an advantage, then it's like, well, okay, then probably I'm not going to let you take that feat. And so there are certain feats like that, and sharpshooter and lucky, that I only allow my players to take in very specific circumstances. Like Art has lucky, and so Ari and I had a nice long conversation at the start of the campaign to be like, okay, please justify to me why he would have this feat. And Ari laid out a really good case, and it's like, okay, all right, I will let you have lucky, and I will let you take it as your level 1 variant human thing. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. Like, feats are at DM's discretion, and so I just try and tie those things closer to the character. And if it looks like a person's just doing it to abuse the combat system, then that's a whole other conversation where I might not let someone pick that feat.
Min-maxers. Thank you for that question. I like when we get those kind of questions. Those are fun.
Yes, especially DM questions, because you get around mechanics and stuff.
Yeah. We got some more questions coming in. This question, I will follow up immediately with a stat. Eric, what are you planning on doing about the sleep spell? And I will bring up the stat that is always so good. Plus or minus 200 points of sleep.
I'm going to go minus, because I think he's closer to like maybe 120 or 140.
Incorrect. 223 points.
Oh my god!
For an
That's so horrible.
An average of 27 points per sleep spell.
I didn't think he had cast sleep that many times.
Yeah, he cast it almost every combat. I think there are 3 combats he has not cast.
Well, so there are ways. So obviously,
undead.
Well, that and elves. We
haven't fought any elves yet. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I haven't fought any elves, but it's the same thing that like we were talking about earlier. If characters like Calum, so when Kill Mode picked Calum, he picked a spell. He said, "Look, I am wanting to be a very utility mage. I am wanting to try and not do damage in the conventional way. I want to be able to manipulate stuff." And it's like, cool. Plus, like, sleep only has so many hit points. So yeah, right now it works. And in some cases you're going to have to, because like peek behind the curtain kind of thing, that combat encounter was very, very dangerous. And without that sleep spell, I could have dropped a player or, a character. I could have done that. They were severely outnumbered. And so sleep in that case becomes an interesting thing to kind of rebalance the encounter. And if I really get pissed off about it, then yeah, I'm just gonna throw some monsters with some higher hit points because I could just as easily have given them like 5 or 6 bugbears, and you know that amount of damage is not gonna sleep as many bugbears as it would goblins.
In the chat, or counterspell. And I would love. I've never seen someone
Yeah, or
counterspell
counterspell.
sleep. That would be the first for
Well,
me.
players rarely take sleep. I mean, to be fair though, I do enjoy when players find interesting uses for stuff. I know last campaign Nock did that to subdue some people who were trying to hunt the party a little bit, and I'm
Fifth
like,
level sleep is no joke.
I know, but I was just like, they didn't murder hobo them. They subdued them.
Man,
It was like,
could have though.
yeah, but that's what I was saying though. Is it's like it's always nice. But yeah, if I end up not liking it, then I will change the conditions of the combat. You know.
With the higher amount of damage that was mentioned earlier, because Volred deciding to be amazing, and Caleb helping out anybody by making them asleep and giving Volred crits. Volred managed to not only top Izal's previous record of highest hit in one attack, but top themselves with the attack of 32 points with the first assassinate attempt, which completely wiped out the Hobgoblin captain for the first attack. And then the second attack, still assassinating, doing 37 points on the second hit for a total of 70 points in 2 shots.
Yep.
Very impressive. With that being said, he dealt 33 points of damage in the entire first fight of that session, and he did that in 1 shot in the next fight.
Yep.
So pretty big stat jump on there.
And that's an interesting deal where it's like, and maybe that was kind of a misdo on my part, because realistically Volred making that surprise attack wouldn't, because Volred kind of ended up where he made the surprise attack and then he ended up at the top of the initiative for the next one, so he basically got to have 2 attacks against creatures that haven't got to act yet before the combat really starts kicking in, so it's
realistically the first attack would have initiated initiative. Everyone would have been surprised for as far as the bad one goes. Volred would have gotten the first attack on that creature, critting it and doing all that, and initiative would have continued down the way it normally would have, ideally in that situation. Otherwise, the first attack and then roll initiative, and then none of them are surprised. That's typically how it would have possibly gone, but I mean, that's
because when it comes to an attack though, it's typically like initiative technically would get rolled like right before, and then you would just, but yes, by kind of a quirk where I'm like, I don't necessarily count combat as being triggered until after something has happened to trigger combat. So in that sense, yes, Volred gets a little bit of extra play in there than I guess the rules would technically ordinarily allow him to have.
He is the 3rd assassin rogue to play in your games, 4th if you count one that Caleb has done outside of the game that I've been in, and he is the first one to successfully assassinate anybody.
Yeah, I know. And last campaign, it's like we had assassin
Valnar
rogue
and River. Neither one of them got the opportunity.
The mod Tater, who left my game because he was ticked off saying that rogues were useless in Eric's games,
which was a correct statement until this campaign started, when you have changed.
My rules have not changed. The difference is Volred doesn't stealth. He just straight up tries to kill people.
Thank you, Tater Hosen, for the subscription. But yeah, Volred successfully became the first assassinator, and the question here is, how do you counter Volred's damage? The answer is probably the same when you counter sleep. It's 4 hit points.
4 hit points. And also, Volred rolls pretty high, but he doesn't... But it's not as if he rolls in like the 20s every time he rolls. Realistically...
He's critting on sleeping targets a lot too.
Well, that and the fact, like, when he rolls, he'd be like, oh, he'll roll 2 over damage or 3 over damage. And you're talking about creatures, with kind of lower middling AC. If he goes up against, like, say, a Siege Etten or, something that's got some armor, I fully expect Volred to radically drop in the number of arrows that get through the armor.
Yep. We've also seen that where the higher the AC, he's less accurate. He is a bit more capable of hitting stuff now at that Elven Accuracy, because, spoiler for the level 4, he got Elven Accuracy, which means anytime he has advantage now, he's rolling 3 dice, which increases his chance on critting. So that's always, exciting to see. Remembering to roll the 3 dice is also important, but that also means he can't move. He's very turret-like when he's just popping off shots.
I can honestly say, though, I am terrified that Rab is going to decide to multi-class so that he will, in such a way that he'll get more than one attack in a round.
He's going to do 7 levels of rogue and 13 levels of champion fighter. That way he can crit on a 1920.
Oh, yeah. So... hopefully he stays rogue and only gets that 1 attack, in which case, yeah, sure. I mean, he can do as much damage as he wants, But also, yes,
steady aim and Elven Accuracy is a very amazing combination.
Yeah, and steady aim is something that, we allowed him to do, and he's going to be a turret, and, that's cool. That just means to counter that, if I don't want him rolling steady aim, then I got to figure out a way to keep him moving. And then Elven Accuracy, he picked that one other than Sharpshooter just because, I have my kind of GM or DM fiat change for Sharpshooter.
Yeah. Not ignoring the 3/4 cover instead of it being the half cover instead, which I'm fine with, but I mean, him taking a -5 on the attack roll, he'd probably miss a lot more. I mean, statistically with our max crit rule, it's probably better. Elven Accuracy is probably better than Sharpshooter in that case.
That's true, because, I mean, that extra damage, because of the crit. Because in my case, though, like with Sharpshooter, like, you and I have had this conversation, I just, I don't like stuff that removes obstacles for players. And, cover is... Yeah, and... Cover is one that I feel like DMs just do not use often enough, and I am loving the fact that I am being more persnickety about lighting in this game, because it means you guys are attacking at disadvantage much more often. And I'm like, okay, all right, this starts feeling a little better. And with cover has robbed you guys of hits and delayed kills several times. So far in this game. So it's one of those things where it's like, I want to be able to keep that as a tactical option for players, and I don't like it if a feat just completely removes them, removes those obstacles. I'm okay with people optimizing, but I don't want them optimizing to the point to where we ignore rules altogether. That I think is not good.
On to some more questions here. How surprised have you been by the Gorbeck playstyle so far in this campaign?
Surprised, because like I said, as I sat down with Bevo and we talked about goblins and some of the ways most goblins behave in this world and how he might do stuff different, and he told me, this is how I'm planning on playing the goblin. It's like, cool, that makes total sense. But then what he did is like a drastically dialed up version of really kind of what I was thinking he was telling me. And I feel like he kind of undersold the degree at which he was going to be crazy. So it was like, well, that is not what I expected. But you know what? Okay.
Oh yeah, crank it to 11. That's what he's all about.
Yeah. I think I like to think of it as like Gorbeck is like one of those like little kids, you know, like kids when they're 5 or 6 or something, and like they just get really hyper anytime they're around people that are new, and they're bouncing off the walls, and the parents have to be like, "Dude, just chill."
Yeah,
And Gorbeck found a new group of friends, and he just got dialed up really high. Because I like to think that if you asked Calum, that Gorbeck is way more wild in this group than he was when it was just him and Calum.
so many more things to entertain himself. And
That's a good question.
Thank you,
Next time
Brit.
you have him on.
Thank you, Britmix Studios, for your subscription. And Tater did break the 22 emote lock. We had the 22 emote had been used 22 times, and he had to go and ruin it by doing it for the 23rd time. But you know, the S&M emote has been used 69 times, which is nice.
There's a fierce internal debate as to whether or not we need to retire that emote now.
It's at 69. We got like change the color or something. Let's edit it out so it looks different. Every time an emote gets to 69, we'd stop it.
Or, you know, if Britmix wants to update it to like a milk carton that says, you know, now more nut milk. Or now with more nut milk.
Now with more vitamin, calcium.
Oh, vitamin D, yeah. You could say now with more vitamin D.
This is disturbing.
That would, yes, it would, but it would be funny.
Pulp in it. Another question out there for you.
Got plenty of fiber.
Ashley attacking the people at a turret. What's your favorite subclass that has been picked by the party so far?
Favorite subclass? I don't know. I like the idea of Zealot. I also think it plays really, really well with Yzal and her backstory. So I'm interested in that. Honestly, probably Ganders, just because it's the first time anyone's played an Artificer in my game. Now, to be fair, an Artificer, you know, the Artificer came out like halfway through our last campaign. So this is like the first campaign where that's like actually been an option.
You could have played the UA version.
Well, remember, Grice, the NPC, was the UA version.
The bad version. This is terrible.
Yeah, the bad version. And he was not very helpful when he tried to help you guys out.
Yeah, he wasn't helpful. One of our guys died.
Well, that's actually your fault.
Shut up.
Because you chose to take a level of Warlock instead of a level of Cleric, so you didn't get Revivify.
It's what my character would do.
I know. I'm not saying that I disagree with your choice. I was just saying he died because of your choice.
He's F5 and Goblins.
Well, actually, no.
Now.
He died because of his choice. He stayed dead because of yours.
Hey,
and
that's the sad. It's one of the sad moments. Anyway, on to the next question here. Get off that sad part. Do you expect Gorbeck to not Gorbeck as much in the side story that's currently going on? This is the first what you've seen him do so far. Do you expect him to possibly tone it down a bit with the obvious bit of
partially because, you know, I've already seen right now, but also because I think Gorbeck is in a different group, and I think he doesn't know these people as much, and so he might try and limit it a little bit. But who knows?
Are you hoping he limits it a bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Look, here's the deal. Gorbeck is at the top of the Deadpool for a reason. For a real legitimate reason, y'all. And you know, it's part of the arc. Because here's the truth. People talk about, oh, Gorbeck. It's like, yeah, but here's the deal. He's setting up an arc. So throughout the campaign, we can expect, you know, Gorbeck to change a little bit. You got to start somewhere. And so the question is going to be, how does he change over the course of the arc, and what are the story beats or the events that happens that triggers those changes?
Potentially dying. That's my guess.
That is an option. Not all arcs are the same length.
Question for the DM: with the new Dragon book coming out and releasing soon, are you excited for more dragon info? Or do you think
I pre-ordered.
Yeah. Do you think it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
play
pre-ordered
much?
Fizz Bands immediately as soon as it was announced. I love dragons, and I certainly expect to continue including some. And they exist in the world, and maybe you guys will meet some, maybe you won't.
Ari's like, sees waterfall, triggered. Oh no. Question for DM, any changes on the Deadpool pick for
Nope.
who do you think? Yeah. Pretty obvious. Because
It'll probably
you still
be
see
Gorbeck.
him in the other campaign that you're doing for the side quest. So
That's
you still
true,
potentially
but
could die first.
that's true. But here's the other truth there too, is it's because you have to plan. Because typically when people, all right, so you know this. Typically when people die in my games, they either it's because they made a serious screw up, or it's this really weird scenario where no one saw it coming. You know, and so if I have to look at the
potentially be both of those at the same time. Like you
I
don't
know,
see it
but
coming
if I-
and he's screwed up.
but assuming we're talking about a Deadpool here,
Yeah.
so we kind of ignore the whole second category altogether, because anyone could be in that second category. And if we focus just on the first category, Gorbeck leads by a mile. You know, he may not always. Like it could be crazy. I mean, like, realistically, we could get in the back of a combat and Calum could accidentally fall off a cliff only to realize he doesn't have any spell slots left to cast Featherfall.
I don't even know if he has Featherfall.
He doesn't yet.
Never.
I don't think he does yet, but I know he plans on trying to get it as soon as possible.
As we're climbing up a mountain. It's a great thing to try to get.
Yeah. And that also happens because, like, sometimes we have these rules and, like, they come up and then we forget about them. Like, if you guys fall in lava, I go, oh yeah, fall in lava. And it's like, oh yeah, right quick. How much damage does lava do?
All of it.
Oh my god!
It does all of the damage.
It's like, I totally forgot that lava does this much damage, and so now you're dead.
It's like 18d6, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It's a lot. Not gonna look it up right now.
No, it does D10s of damage.
It
I think it does.
D10s.
Yeah, no, I think it does like 8d10 per round, and then there's an initial
it's
thing.
in the double digits. I know that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot.
Another question. Okay, let's get to this part. The new segment that we've been doing. Favorite NPC / bed, wed, behead. Pick 3 NPCs that you would like to bed, wed, or behead. I'm assuming one of them will be your favorite NPC.
So which one I would behead?
Which would you NPC would you? It's fuck, marry,
So I
kill.
don't get options now. So I don't have to select from a small pool.
Well, you actually know all the NPCs' names. We tend to limit
true.
the other people because I could just say a random name and they'd assume that it's something that's come up in the game so
far. Obviously, we would want to behead Rydian because he's an asshole. I think if I had to bed, and I'm only working named NPCs here.
Yes, not something in the backstory. It's like, oh, this guy's so.
So like, I can't pick Izal's girlfriend because I didn't come up with a name for her, or I might have.
She's taken.
She's taken. Yeah, she's your porta booty call. But I guess if I had to bed someone, it would probably be Falarian. Ooh, or maybe wed him. He's got a lot of money.
Is that the illusion, the enchantment wizard?
Yeah, the enchantment wizard.
The one with all the boy slaves?
Students, and they're not all boys.
He all has a trigger. Girlfriend triggered. Gotta go golem. He can't use it. Triggered. Play Dungeons & Dragons long enough. You get triggered.
Yeah, I guess okay, because I'm not gonna be any fun. So yeah, I would probably marry Falarian because he's got all kinds of money. But if I had to bet, it would probably be Lawless.
Who the fuck is that?
Milo's mom.
Oh. She dead.
She's still at NBC.
You
didn't
would
say that
marry
to be
a
alive.
dead person. Okay, let's. Okay, fine. Mizak Theofrick and Captain Silverleaf.
Oh,
Those
okay.
three. Let's give it. I want those answers now.
Well,
Since you had to
obviously,
ruin it
I
with
would
a
have
dead
to bet Theofrick. Theofrick would have to be the bed. Silverleaf would be the wed, because at least I can get money and a ship from him if I need to. And I'd have to kill Mizak because he's a little hobo.
That's the obvious answer. Why would people even bother going against the grain on that one? Everyone knows. Kill Mizak. Question for the DM: Why you want to bet a dead body?
I don't.
You
didn't say like.
Yes, I didn't give you parameters, but we are willing. The
Also,
chat
I
is
didn't
allowed
say-
to put it however they want.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right. This is a safe space or whatever.
No, the chat's allowed to make fun of you even in the campaign. You just never see it.
That's true.
Feel free to
Because
make fun
I
of
do
DM
not
chat.
keep as close of the chat as my players do.
Sometimes we get bored when other people are doing stuff. So
Well, that and the fact, I've got like two 30-inch screens, and they are like positively filled with shit. So it's like
DM kills
I don't have
Mizak
time.
triggered.
It could happen. Mizak could die.
You'll kill him. It'll be you killing him though. So literally, it is your choice.
No, all that would happen is it would be like Kalen launches a fireball, forgets that Mizak's there, and it just goes. Mizak dead.
I like this comment. If we get a third-party child, we can just make it a Ziggle, Mizak, and an unnamed child. They should have like their own separate adventure, a one-shot where it's those three, like a third person. I think it's Gorbeck. I think
battle royale. Although technically, you do have Milo, who was with the party for a small period.
We did have
of
a
time.
child already, huh?
Yes.
I don't ever count him.
Now Milo doesn't rise to the same level as Ziggle.
We got to see him kill. We need some blood on those hands before we can officially.
No, Tater. You gotta like cut that.
Do not do bed wed behead the children. No.
Exactly. There's no way Twitch
Ziggle and
appreciates
Mizak
that.
are old people, we're assuming. Caleb using damaging spells triggered. Caleb didn't do any damage in the two combats.
That is not the way he likes to roll.
Okay. On to the next question for you. Or should I do a stat? Let's do a stat.
Sure.
Plus or minus 50 points between the damage difference between Izal and the Dungeon Master.
I was a pretty high over you before, but you've picked up some impressive damage recently, and most of my guys have died pretty quickly. So I'm gonna say that you're probably beating me, but I'm gonna say by less than 15 damage.
Well, you are still in the lead.
Okay.
But
okay.
It was less than 50, so you were correct, I guess, in that statement.
I said 15, 1-5.
Yes, but my statement was plus or minus 50. So the gap was less than 50. It is 38. You are 38 points ahead of Izal. Volred is 56 points behind Izal. Because critting a bunch on unconscious bodies is very effective. When you can pop off 70 points of damage in 2 rounds.
But you know what? That'll be fine, because what'll happen is, like when I'll crit on you guys with a big monster, and I'll kill one of you. That's how that'll happen.
If I recall, you critted me for 8 points.
Yeah, because I hit you with like a little like shitty like skeleton.
It was a hook horror. It did 8 points of damage.
Yeah, but but what I'm saying is like get like an Etten or a troll or something, or another one of those gray oozes that are enraged that do 8d6 points of acid damage and then crit on that.
It's a fireball.
Yeah.
Fireball. It's
Yeah.
impressive. That would suck.
Yeah. That would really suck.
I always keep telling you, AoE stacks for your damage because you're technically dealing it to multiple people. So if you ever want to pump up those numbers, drop some AoE on some people.
I do need to drop some spellcasters in. I haven't really had any of those combat-wise yet.
Like on that group of 3 people that are like 40 feet away from combat, just hanging out. They feel so safe back there. Maybe a fireball or 2.
Yep. You know, that's an excellent point.
It's a safe space.
I need to include mages that have fireball and counterspell more.
That's how you counter Caleb. Just make him unconscious in one spell.
Yep. So that way you guys run up like a bridge or something and they just go fireball right on top of you.
Ominous. Okay. So with the top of the DM poll already, top of the dead pool already discussed with your guest going to Gorbeck again. Who is second on your list? Considering Gorbeck is in a different group right now.
Caleb.
Like his hit points are so low?
Yeah, and he has a nasty habit of stepping on things he shouldn't. But I would say
enemies.
I would say though that I would put Art only slightly behind Caleb.
Does that because he has slightly more hit points?
That's because Art is in the thick of it, and it only takes like one really bad round of combat to end that. I have reservations as to whether or not I could drop you that quickly unless I hit you like and crit you while you're not raging.
Yeah, you gotta hit me before, because I took a 15-point hit last session, and it was because it was before I had went in the initiative, so I couldn't rage beforehand. It was from that stupid fucking Wyvern.
Yeah, you got that D12 hit die and rage. I mean,
mitigate that damage.
Yes.
Also, by attacking me, that's also why your numbers aren't as high, because I count resisted damage. I don't give you the 8, I give you the 4.
That's true.
So by attacking me, your number doesn't get any higher. You might be hitting, you're just not doing as much. We have the final question set in. As we near the end of the stream and you have 2 stories going at once, can you roll a D percentile with advantage? Roll twice to take the higher number.
Woo! D percentile. It would probably help if I rolled the other one, and this is gonna be, well, that's a 1. So that's not helpful.
69.
And that's a 17. So normal DM rolls for me.
If you were a level 17 cleric, your divine intervention would work.
Exactly.
And 1 definitely would have worked.
And I was hoping when I rolled that first, double 0, that I could roll a 0 on the 10s and get 100. But that did not work. It had to give me the worst possible outcome.
So 17 was your number out of advantage. Yeah. That's not very good, actually. That's bad.
No, that's not. And I know. I would have loved to just lie and steal more money from Tater, but got to play this honest. See, that's the way this works, right?
Sheer 100 for the opposite of the 100 that you got. And for the bonus bit of information, Volred has taken no damage the last 2 combats, and Arthur has healed 45 total points. So he is officially the best healer in the group. Thank you, everyone, for coming in to Adjacent with Jace, the not-so-tabletop review show, as we really only cover the stories. Any questions in future episodes about dungeon mastering or the campaign or whatever, feel free to ask them. This episode will be on our... There's a lot of bits going on. This episode will be on our YouTube channel on Saturday. The current episode of Chapter 19 is on our YouTube already as it loaded up. And thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you so much. Eric, thank you for coming in as well. And as the final hurrah huzzah, I will say my intro again and try to not fuck it up, since I really ate shit the first time. He's coming through the door and starts blasting, dealing info galore, but no one's asking. The party's confused once more about the task and start staring at the goblin on the floor like Carol Baskins. All the skills that can bore are never lacking, rocking the players to their core. Here's a Saxon. Thank you, Eric, for coming in, and everyone, I'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great night and stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Walking hand in hand on the ocean floor, down deep we wander. Louder we sing, no there is no cure.